Hi, so I want to talk about some conflict resolution skills and some things that are going on in our society and how we need to protect people and protect ourselves from trauma. So, there are some things that have been coming out in the news about people getting attacked based on their identity. And what happens is when this happens is it creates trauma. Now, this is really important to talk about because when we're in these situations, whether we're the observer or the one getting attacked based on our identity, there are three things that happen: fight, flight, or freeze. Now, as the observer, a lot of times will freeze because we don't know what to do. So, I'm going to share what you can do. And I'm going to share based on a story that, an example of what I went through. So, I was at a conference and I had left my little area and I'd walked out and I saw some people arguing. Someone was a little more aggressive, so I kind of walked by and just listened and observed. It was a Palestinian very angry at several Jews, and I stood by there and I watched. And they kept saying to the Palestinian, "We don't want to discuss this. We can't do anything about it. There's nothing we can do. We can't." And he was just very angry and very adamant. Well, pretty soon a whole bunch of Jews left, and it was just two women and him. And he was not listening to the word no. So I went and got security and said, I need to keep safe as well. So please, as I'm keeping safe, go over and take care of this, and I'm going to walk away. And security went and handled it, and I did. They didn't know who I was. What was fascinating about this is that both parties have experienced some sort of racial hate, Jewish people and Palestinians, and they're fighting right now. And so there was nothing that could be done, and they're both hurting. And so it was a place of just saying, hey, this is a challenge. It wasn't a place to say one was right, one was wrong, any of that kind of stuff. So this tells you when this is going on, you don't always have to get involved. You can get a third party involved. This also tells you when you get a third party involved, what to do. You see, getting that third party involved means that you become a witness. Now you may go, I don't want to be a witness to that. But we're not going to stop this if we don't stand up against it. You see, what I heard recently was, and this was on the news, was a family that got attacked based on their identity. You can't change that. And there was children, and someone screaming at them. And they were children. What do you think that child's going to grow up with? That child's going to remember that. Because we remember things based on joy or fear. And they're going to remember that nobody said anything or did anything. Even if you go and get security and security breaks it up, you can walk by that family later and say, I didn't want to get in the middle of that, but I made sure that security was involved. You can say that to them and say, that's how I handle it. And I want to make sure, and you talk to the younger person, I wanted to make sure that we found a way to get you safe. And this is how I was going to get you safe. Another thing you can do is if that person's yelling at a family, you can start talking to the family and saying, oh, how old are you? Oh, and you kind of block it. You don't get involved in the yelling and the screaming, and you stop them from the fighting, yelling, and screaming, and you start talking to the kids. And you start going, oh, what grade are you in? Oh, do you like your school? And you start having a conversation. You don't argue. You don't participate. That's another way to resolve the conflict. You see, racial hate, gender hate has got to stop. That tells people they don't belong based on who they are. And they can't change that. And they shouldn't have to change that. And we should learn how to navigate these conflicts to not only protect ourselves from witnessing that kind of trauma, because it is impactful to witness that kind of trauma, but also protect the children and the other people, because they belong. We're a part of humanity. That impacts all of us. It impacts you, it impacts me, even if we're not directly experiencing it. You know, there's this saying, they came for the socialists and I said nothing. They came for the unionists and I said nothing. They came for the Jews and I said nothing. And then they came for me and there was nobody. When you don't stand up in some form or another, they'll come for you. So learn how to stand. Learn how to stand in wisdom. There are ways to learn how to stand where you protect yourself and you don't have to rescue the other person. You're not going into the triangle, but you're standing up in a way that's healthy and skillful. Don't freeze and ignore what's going on and say, well, that's not my problem. Because when you say that's not your problem, you're saying humanity isn't your problem. You're saying it's okay for people to do these things. When you find a way to stand against it, even if it's silently doing it or strategically doing it, which I think is the wise way to do it, that's when it becomes the most impactful. So my tip is, when you see things like this happening, get authorities involved, get people who have that, find ways to distract the situation, and keep yourself safe, but don't ignore. Don't freeze. Ask, and you can even in your mind go, wisdom, what should I be doing in this situation? And get real quiet and then hear. Because you'll hear if you ask for the ability to hear what to do. You'll hear. So on that note, I really just wanted to address this because I think we need to start learning skills on how to navigate this. Talk to you next time. Bye for now.